My wife never dreamed that just because she took our daughter to her male assistant's house and didn't return all night, I would apply to the system to withdraw from the mission. When she brought gifts home, she discovered that there was no longer any trace of me in the house, and even the wedding room we had carefully decorated was destroyed. Our daughter's eyes were red from crying as she looked for her father, and my wife desperately tried to call me, but the response she got was that the number she dialed was out of service. At that moment, the mother and daughter collapsed hysterically. System, I want to go home. The system immediately gave a reply, okay, host. The withdrawal procedure has started in half a month. You will be able to leave this place. Her family, hearing the word family, my gaze slowly fell upon the television. At this moment, the TV was broadcasting the CEO of Liu Group, Liu Ruyan, and her daughter, Liu Xinyu, getting off a plane. Liu Ruyan was walking forward briskly while holding her daughter, Liu Xinyu. A reporter jogged forward to ask President Liu, I heard you finished a meeting in France yesterday and flew back overnight. Why the rush? Is there something important happening? Liu Ruyan, who is always serious in the business world, now showed an incredibly gentle smile to the camera. Today is my husband's birthday. Naturally, my daughter and I had to come back to spend it with him. For me, everything related to my husband is the most important. Little Liu Xinyu also raised the bag she was holding. Daddy, Mommy, and I prepared gifts for you. We'll be home soon. The reporter wanted to ask more, but Liu Ruyan indicated she was in a hurry and stopped answering, leaving only a hurrying silhouette for the camera. The reporter's face was full of envy. President Liu's feelings for Mr. Fang have remained consistent. 10 years have passed and she is still deeply in love. President Liu is truly a perfect wife. Even your daughter takes after President Liu. With such a wife and daughter, I think Mr. Fang must be very happy. I turned off the TV and gave a bitter smile. Happy? A month ago I would have answered happy firmly, but now I can't say those words no matter what. No one knows that I am actually not from this world. 10 years ago I traveled to this world with my own body, and my mission was to redeem Liu Ruyan, who had witnessed her parents' death as a child. When I first met her, she was still a gloomy girl who had closed herself off and refused to communicate with the outside world. It took me 3 years to finally lead her, bit by bit, out of the shadows. My mission was then completed, but when the system asked if I wanted to leave, I hesitated. Images of Liu Ruyan tightly hugging me and telling me not to leave kept flashing through my mind. I didn't dare to imagine Liu Ruyan had already lost her parents once. If I, whom she loved deeply, also left her, what would she become? So I chose to stay in this world and marry her. At the wedding, I solemnly told Liu Ruyan that if she ever betrayed me, I would disappear from this world. At that time, Liu Ruyan held my hand and promised that day would never come, and that her love for me would be eternal. After we got married, just as the wedding vows said, her love remained passionate. She would cancel all work to be by my side for anniversaries big and small. When socializing, if any man approached her, she would ruthlessly have him taken away. When she was giving birth, I was on my way to the hospital. When I had a car accident and entered the ICU, Liu Ruyan, disregarding her body that had just given birth, knelt outside the operating room for a day and night, praying to heaven for my safety. After I came out of the operating room, she dragged her legs, which had long since lost sensation, and stumbled to the hospital bed to tightly hold my. Holding my hand, her face was covered in tears. My daughter particularly adored me, her father. She would always kiss my cheek before school, and her first task after school was to find me. I once firmly believed that I would be happy forever. Unfortunately, oaths vanish with the wind, long lost in the river of time. This mother and daughter, who once loved me so deeply, have now formed another family outside with a male assistant. Countless times they went behind my back to reunite. My wife of 5 years would hug Yitang Cheng's waist and intimately call him husband. The daughter I raised since childhood would nestle in Yitang Cheng's arms and sweetly call him brother Yi. Even yesterday, they weren't going to France for a meeting, but were accompanying Yitang Cheng to Switzerland for skiing. The words spoken at the wedding have now become a prophecy. The moment I learned the truth, I had already made up my mind to leave this world, to leave this mother and daughter who are full of lies. I watched the cake melting in front of me, muttered, they are no longer my family, I want to leave them. Who is leaving? Just as the words fell, two voices rang out simultaneously. I looked up and immediately saw Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu standing at the door. Liu Xinyu got down from Liu Ruyan and ran on her little legs to throw herself into my arms. Dad, who did you just say was leaving? I spoke softly. A friend of mine, his marriage broke down and he plans to leave his wife and daughter. Liu Xinyu looked up and gave my cheek a hard kiss. Dad's friend is so pitiful. Luckily, Mom and I will always love Dad. Liu Ruyan put away her coat and walked over to lean in my arms, her tone as gentle as ever. Daughter is right, Yuan, our family will always be together. I didn't speak, my eyelashes hiding the bitterness in my eyes. Forever? We won't have a forever anymore. Liu Xinyu saw the cake on the table and hurriedly took out the bag from her hand. Dad, this is the gift Mom and I chose for you. Liu Ruyan took out a gift box from the bag and opened it. It was a Richard Mille watch. With a hint of apology in her voice, she said, a Yuan, work in France was too busy. My daughter and I returned a bit late. Don't be mad at us. She took out the watch and prepared to lower her head to put it on me. The moment she got close, I smelled a strong woody fragrance, but I never use perfume. My stomach suddenly churned violently. I couldn't help but push the mother and daughter away and rush to the bathroom to dry heave. Liu Ruyan had always cared about my health. Usually, if I had a slight cough, she would act as if facing a great enemy. Seeing this scene now, she was so anxious that she immediately called a doctor. I held her hand, my my eyes. Red from dry heaving, stared at her without blinking. I'm fine. I just thought of my friend's wife and daughter and felt their deceptive behavior was disgusting. Liu Ruyan, if you no longer love me, I will. Impossible. Before I could finish, Liu Ruyan immediately interrupted and stepped forward to hug me tightly. In her arms, as if wanting to melt me into her own body so we would never part. Yuan, do you still not know my heart? In this life, I will only love one man. I won't let you leave me. Liu Xinyu also clenched her fists with a serious expression. Dad, don't worry. Mom and I will never do anything to hurt you. I will also help you supervise Mom. If she dares to do anything wrong to you, I will definitely tell you immediately. I'm always on your side. These words made Liu Ruyan laugh. Is that the kind of person Mom is in your heart? Liu Xinyu glared at her. Anyway, I love Dad the most. I want to protect Dad. Listening to their bickering, there wasn't a trace of a smile on my face. I only felt as if a sharp knife was grinding my heart to pieces. Liu Ruyan said she loved me, yet she had another man outside. Liu Xinyu said she would protect me, yet she helped Liu Ruyan cover up and hide it from me. I can no longer tell which of them. Whether those words were lies or sincere. Early the next morning, Liu Ruyan made me breakfast as usual and dotingly brought it to me. Yuan, let's go to the ski resort as a family after breakfast, okay? Daughter and I came back late yesterday, so we'll spend today making up for your birthday. Liu Xinyu also handed me a glass of freshly squeezed juice, hugging my waist and acting spoiled. Let's go, Dad. Skiing is fun. I had no interest in skiing. But in the time it took to eat breakfast, Liu Ruyan and her daughter had already packed all the gear and pulled me into the car. When we arrived at the ski resort, only then did I realize why the mother and daughter insisted on coming here. As soon as I got out of the car, I saw Ito Cheng standing at the entrance, looking around. After Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu got out of the car, Ito Cheng's eyes lit up, and he immediately ran over, taking the scarf from his own neck, naturally wrapping it around Liu Xinyu's neck, then handing a thermos to Liu Ruyan. I watched her series of fluid actions silently. Although Liu Xinyu was young, she never liked being touched by anyone outside the Liu family, and since someone drugged Liu Ruyan's drink 6 years ago, she never accepted drinks from any man except me. Liu Ruyan coughed lightly, her voice carrying a hint of awkwardness. Hey Yuan, this is my assistant, Ito Cheng. He arranged this trip and it's more convenient with him here, so I invited him along. Liu Xinyu chimed in, yeah, Dad, it's great that we only have to worry about playing. Was it for convenience? Or did they want to be with Ito Cheng every second? I no longer had the energy to probe their true thoughts. Only then did Ito Cheng, as if he had just noticed me, timidly reach out his hand. Hello sir, I won't disturb your family. I caught a glimpse of white on his wrist. What's that on your wrist? At my words, Ito Cheng revealed a diamond-encrusted watch on his wrist and answered with a face full of happiness. This is a gift from my family. In the past 5 years, Liu Ruyan had given me many watches. I could tell at a glance that this watch and the one from last night were meant to be part of the same series. I curled my lips mockingly. Sir, your family seems to love you very much. Liu Ruyan and her daughter had split the complete series into 2 parts, one for me and one for Ito Cheng, just as their hearts could be divided into 2 halves. Ito Cheng smiled brightly. Yes, they always say they love me most and pamper me like a child, perhaps worried I'd notice something. Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu showered him with care the whole way. When he coughed once, Liu Ruyan immediately took off her coat in distress and draped it over his shoulders, then poured hot water from the thermos and thoughtfully handed it to him. Liu Xinyu also took off her scarf and properly put it on him, advising him to keep warm like a little adult. But I didn't want to touch those perfume-scented items, so I just said I wanted to go back to the hotel to rest and left. Liu Ruyan and her daughter looked at each other and both chose to accompany me back to rest until evening. Then Liu Ruyan's phone rang. She quickly muted it and looked at me on the bed. Seeing no reaction, she sighed in relief. On the screen, Ito Cheng's name was flashing. Beside her, Liu Xinyu tugged at Liu Ruyan's sleeve and whispered, Mom, I want to see Brother Ito. Liu Ruyan quickly made a shushing gesture. The mother and daughter looked at each other and tiptoed out of the room. The moment the door closed, I opened my eyes, put on my clothes, and followed them. They walked hurriedly and eventually reached the door of Ito Cheng's room. As soon as it opened, Ting Cheng pulled Liu Ruyan tightly into his arms and said in a wronged voice, Ruyan, you're finally here. I was so scared being alone in the hotel today. I don't dare to ask to be by your side for 24 hours like Mr. As long as you can spare 2 hours every day to be with me. As Bai Ting Cheng spoke, he gazed at Liu Ruyan with his moist, deer-like eyes. Liu Ruyan couldn't stand his tears. The moment she saw them, her heart softened. She distressedly kissed the corner of his mouth. How could 2 hours be enough? My daughter and I will stay with you all night tonight. Liu Xinyu also explained from the side. Brother Ito, as soon as Dad fell asleep, Mom and I came over immediately. We really wanted to be with you too. Ito Cheng looked moved, but then he seemed to think of something and his expression darkened. Actually, I was very cold today too, but you only had eyes for Mr. and even took the scarves and thermos I specially prepared for you. Worried that Ito Cheng was sad, Liu Xinyu hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed his hand. Brother Ito, don't be sad. It's all my and Mom's fault. Let me warm you up. My hands are much warmer than a scarf. Liu Ruyan also dotingly scratched his nose. What a jealous little thing, getting upset over such a small matter. Knowing you didn't have enough fun skiing in Switzerland, I specifically chose this place. Isn't that enough? Hearing this, Ito Cheng lowered his head and quickly placed a kiss on the corner of her mouth. Thank you, President Liu. Liu Ruyan's eyes instantly darkened. She held Ito Cheng's head and their lips and teeth intertwined. Liu Xinyu covered her eyes. Wow, I don't want to be a third wheel. Only after a long time did Liu Ruyan let go. Ito Cheng's face was flushed red and he lightly tapped her chest. Xinyu is still here. Liu Ruyan caught his hand and kissed it. What's there to be afraid of? It's not like she hasn't seen it. She then put her arm around Ito Cheng's waist and led Liu Xinyu into the room and closed the door. Behind a nearby pillar, my face was already covered in tears, even though I already knew about their betrayal. Witnessing all this with my own eyes still made me feel a pain that cut to the bone. Every word turned into a sharp blade, piercing my heart until it was riddled with holes. The so-called celebrating my birthday was nothing more than satisfying Ito Cheng's regret of not having enough fun. I crouched down and clutched my chest. The words of Liu Ruyan and her daughter from last night were still ringing in my ears. Won't let me leave. But Liu Ruyan, Liu Xinyu, I have already made up my mind to leave you. The next morning when I woke, Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu happened to walk into the room with breakfast. Seeing me awake, Liu Ruyan very naturally handed the breakfast to my hand and looked at me with eyes full of doting. My daughter and I wanted you to sleep a bit longer, so we specifically got up early to bring breakfast back. Liu Xinyu kicked her little legs and climbed onto the bed to lean on my shoulder. I missed you so much after being away from you for just a little while, Dad. I felt the cold temperature beside me in my eyes showed a hint of self-mockery. They clearly hadn't returned all night and had just come from Ito Cheng's bed, yet this mother and daughter could claim they were getting breakfast. Didn't know their acting was so good before. After breakfast, the mother and daughter tirelessly took me to the ski resort. Ito Cheng was already dressed in skiing gear waiting for them at the entrance, but I had no interest in skiing. Liu Ruyan looked at me with some concern, her voice carrying a hint of testing. Yuan, what's wrong with you these past 2 days? Did my daughter or I do something to upset you? I shook my head. No, it's just that my friend's matter has been affecting my mood lately. Liu Ruyan finally breathed a sigh of relief and gently placed a kiss on my forehead. Rest assured, Yuan, this kind of thing will never happen in our family. If you don't want to skip then, before she could finish, Ito Cheng's hesitant voice sounded. President Liu. Seeing the longing look in Ito Cheng's eyes, Liu Ruyan didn't want to disappoint him. The words at the tip of her tongue shifted. Then wait for me here obediently. My daughter, an assistant, and I'll go for a few laps and come back. Liu Xinyu didn't speak, but I sharply noticed her hand had already quietly grabbed. Maybe she wanted a world for three too much. Now she wasn't even worried about her actions being discovered by me. I nodded silently. Liu Ruyan specifically instructed the hotel staff to take care of me, and she carefully put on the gloves from her bag for me. Yuan, it's cold here. I'm worried you'll catch a cold. If you feel unwell, call me immediately. Liu Xinyu also checked my zipper properly. I don't want to see Dad's gloves. Ito Cheng watched as Liu Ruyan and her daughter had their whole hearts on me and couldn't help but feel sour. Sir, President Liu and her daughter are so good to you. Hearing this, I looked up at him. In Ito Cheng's eyes, there was still a hint of hidden jealousy he hadn't managed to hide. I just smiled and said pointedly, I think your family loves you more. After all, the fact that Liu Ruyan and her daughter could hide it from me and form another family with Ito Cheng proves they didn't consider my feelings and cared more about being with Ito Cheng. Just as I finished speaking, a rumbling sound came from afar and the ground beneath my feet began to tremble. I grabbed Liu Ruyan's hem, but in the next second I watched as it slipped from my hand as she rushed toward Ito Cheng, and Liu Xinyu, who was originally in front of me, also ran in the same direction. Cheng, brother Ito, rumbled. The heavy snow pressed down on me. Before losing consciousness, I saw Liu Ruyan, who said she loved me, and Liu Xinyu, who supposedly protected me, shielding the man in their arms. When I regained consciousness, it was already a week later. Seeing me awake, the nurse hurriedly and joyfully notified the doctor to check me. Mr. Fang, you're finally awake, President Liu. And the young lady brought in almost every doctor in the city to pray for your safety. President Liu even donated 10 million to a charity foundation, wishing that this good deed would be rewarded to you so you'd wake up sooner. They'll be so happy to know you're awake. Just then, Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu pushed the door open and entered. Seeing I was awake, both immediately hugged me tightly in fear, eyes filled with heartache. Yuan, you're finally awake. Do you know how worried I was this week? Liu Xinyu's eyes were red and her voice choked. Dad, I was so scared you wouldn't wake up. People say Liu Ruyan is cold-faced and heartless, but at this moment I felt a burning drop on the back of my hand. Liu Xinyu's tears were also swirling, but their tears didn't stir a single ripple in my heart. I only felt irony when danger struck. The person they subconsciously protected was Ito Cheng. When I saw that scene, it would be a lie to say it didn't hurt. I thought I had given Liu Ruyan my whole heart, loving her completely, and for Liu Xinyu, my daughter, I had raised her personally since she was young. But Ito Cheng had appeared for only a few months and could easily erase all that and take my place. Seeing my reaction, Liu Ruyan and her daughter felt a sudden panic and hurriedly explained, Yuan, the situation was too urgent that day. For a moment, I didn't see clearly which one was you, so I protected the wrong person. Dad, Mom and I will never let you be in danger again. It's all our fault this time. My body, having just woken up, was still weak. At this moment, I only felt exhausted and had no energy to expose the mother and daughter's clumsy lies. In only one more week, I could leave this place and leave this mask-wearing mother and daughter. Over the next few days, perhaps out of guilt, Liu Ruyan and her daughter stayed by my side in the hospital constantly. However, Liu Ruyan's phone never stopped ringing every day, but she didn't answer any of them. Until today, today when my phone vibrated with a message. Her pupils shrunk and her expression changed slightly. A few seconds later, she spoke guiltily, Ayuan, the company has. I have some urgent business to handle first. After Liu Xinyu leaned her head in to see the screen clearly, she also spoke up hurriedly, Dad, I want to go to the company with Mom too. I saw all their expressions. What business at the company would require a child like Liu Xinyu to go along? It was nothing more than Yi Tengcheng. Only after seeing me nod did the mother and daughter leave in a hurry. I got out of bed and followed them. At the corner of the hospital corridor, I saw Yi Tengcheng with teary eyes. He threw himself into Liu Ruyan's arms. Liu Ruyan's expression turned somewhat gloomy as she pulled his hand away, her tone carrying a warning. What are you doing at the hospital? I told you. That Ayuan's body hasn't fully recovered yet. Stay home these few days. You cannot appear in front of Ayuan. Hearing this, Yi Tengcheng sobbed even more intensely. He threw himself into her arms again, his hands tightly clutching her waist as he spoke aggrievedly. I just missed you both so much. I haven't seen you for 10 days already. You clearly promised before to spend at least 2 hours with me every day. Seeing Yi Tengcheng crying, Liu Xinyu anxiously explained, Brother, you, Mom and I also missed you. It's just that Dad's body hasn't recovered yet, so we have to stay with him. Mom, hurry up and comfort Brother Yi, feeling the moisture at the corners of Yi Tengcheng's eyes. And hearing her daughter's persuasion, Liu Ruyan sighed and her expression softened. Don't cry anymore. It pains my heart when you cry. I'll spend the next 2 days specifically with you, okay? Yi Tengcheng's crying stopped instantly. Really? After getting Liu Ruyan's affirmative answer, Yi Tengcheng finally smiled through his tears. He pecked her lips a few times and Liu Ruyan kissed him back. The two were inseparable, making squelching sounds as if to express all the longing from the past 10 days. Liu Xinyu saw this scene and covered her eyes while turning her head, but her tone was full of laughter. Mom and Brother, you're so embarrassing. I was like a marionette as I returned to the ward. Tears fell from the corners of my eyes, wetting the pillow. I bit my lower lip hard to keep from making a sound. I kept telling myself to wait a bit longer, just a bit longer, and I could leave. This was the last time I would cry for these two devils. Perhaps it was the previous long period of neglect that gave Yi Tengcheng a sense of crisis. He finally tore off his mask and revealed his true colors. Early the next morning, I woke up to see provocative messages sent by him one after another. Fang Yuan, I know you saw it. How does it feel to watch your own wife kiss another man with your own eyes while your daughter is right there covering for us? Ruyan loves it most when I cry. She says seeing my tears gives her a special kind of satisfaction, especially in bed. Every time I cry, she fulfills all my requests. She even said she wishes she could be stuck with me 24 hours a day. Ruyan never acted like this with you, right? Even your daughter likes having me around. She says being with me feels especially relaxed and comfortable. Once she thought I was asleep and even secretly called me Dad. You've really failed as a husband. Looking at these provocative messages, I suppressed the surging emotions in my heart. I then took screenshots to save these messages. There were only 3 days left before I would leave. These things would be my final gift for Liu Ruyan and her daughter. In the morning, I requested to be discharged. The hospital informed Liu Ruyan of this news, and I soon received a call from her. Her tone was apologetic. Ayuan, something came up at the company and I can't leave. I'll send someone to pick you up. I have our daughter with me, so rest well at home. I knew the mother and daughter were with Yi Tengcheng, so I just gave a faint hem. 3 days before leaving the world, Fang Yuan returned home and ordered the servants to throw away all my belongings. A confused servant asked, Sir, are you replacing them with new ones? I nodded. Yes. What they didn't know was that not only would the items be replaced, but the male master of this house would also be new. 2 days before leaving the world, I opened the shared folder that only Liu Ruyan and I could access. In the secret room, the walls were densely covered with all our photos from the past 10 years in our annual family. Photos, over 10 years, the people in the photos matured, from 2 people at the start to 3 now, but now one face must be removed. I took scissors and stayed in the secret room from morning till night, cutting my part out, leaving only Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu. I then took the marriage certificate from the safe, which Liu Ruyan had placed there 5 years ago, and opened it. I unexpectedly found a poem Liu Ruyan wrote during our wedding. Ayuan, to me, you are my whole world, because with you my world is full of sunshine again. I'll love you forever, we'll grow old together and love each other for lifetimes. She won. Word at a time, read through the dense writing showing the 22-year-old Liu Ruyan's deep affection for me. At the end, I silently laughed, my eyes slightly moist. Finally, I put the poem back in the certificate and piled it with my cut photos in the flower garden center and lit a fire. I watched the photos and certificate turn to ashes. One day before leaving the world, I printed all the photos and messages Yi Tengcheng sent me. The photos showed Liu Ruyan in Yi Tengcheng's arms and Liu Xinyu leaning affectionately in Yi Tengcheng's arms listening to bedtime stories, with Yi Tengcheng, Liu Ruyan, and Liu Xinyu wearing cartoon headbands at the amusement park. I thought I would feel heart pain, but I only felt a dead water-like calm. I put the photos in a bag, took off my wedding ring, and put it in too. The day of my departure happened to be my 7th wedding anniversary. Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu, whom I hadn't seen for days, returned early. Liu Ruyan was holding a heart-shaped cake. Ayuan, work was too busy, it's my fault. Today is our anniversary, we won't go anywhere and we'll stay with you all day. Liu Xinyu raised her fist and swore, Dad, I witness it. Mom worked every day. I always remembered my duty to watch her for you. I looked at them and asked softly, are you tired? Juggling between me and Yi Tang Chang'an. Pretending to be a good wife and daughter in front of me, aren't you tired? They answered in unison, not tired. Xinyu took my hand with stars in her eyes. Anything about dad, I won't feel tired. Yuan, even if work is hard, the moment I see you, all my exhaustion vanishes. Besides, today is our wedding anniversary. Every year we must celebrate together. Even if there's a lot of work, I would still come back. Fang Yuan only smiled and said no more. Liu Ruyan began to work in the kitchen. She gave the servants the day off to personally cook several dishes I like to celebrate the anniversary. Liu Xinyu, not to be outdone, got a stool to cut fruit and make juice. After a long time, the dishes were finally served. Liu Ruyan lit the number 7 candle and held my hand with love overflowing in her eyes. Yuan, if you hadn't been by my side, Liu Xin. You clapped happily. Wow, dad and mom are so romantic. However, a sudden ringtone broke this warm atmosphere. I pulled back my hand and handed her the phone with Tang Chang's name flashing on it. Liu Ruyan smiled and said she wouldn't answer anyone, but I insisted. After she saw the name on the screen clearly, she hesitated for a second and finally picked up the phone. Yuan, it's my assistant calling. I'm worried the company has something urgent. I'll take this. After saying that, she walked to the other side and answered the phone. When she returned, as expected, a familiar look once again surfaced. Of apology, Yuan, I'm sorry, an emergency happened at the company that I need to handle. Liu Xinyu didn't know what was said on the other end, but she saw that the call was from Tang Chang and quickly jumped off her chair, running to Liu Ruyan's side. Dad, I want to go too. I can help you supervise mom to make her finish her work early and come home. Looking at the pair in front of me, one big and one small, whose expressions were faintly eager, I just nodded gently. Go ahead. Liu Ruyan immediately let out a sigh of relief and picked up Liu Xinyu. The two of them kissed me on each cheek. Wait for us at home like a good boy. Dad, we'll see you in a bit. After saying that, they hurried away without noticing my silence. They wouldn't know that this would be the last time for the three of them to see me. When I saw Liu Ruyan's car completely disappear outside the window, I took the burnt-out candles from the table along with the cake and threw them into the trash together. Then I went to the bedroom, took out the prepared file bag and walked out the door. 10 years ago, Liu Ruyan and I met at a private nursing home in the suburbs. Now the nursing home is abandoned with only ivy covering the building. I followed the route in my memory, walking and stopping along the way. Memories related to Liu Ruyan flooded over me like a tide, from her lack of response when we first met to how she gradually got used to my presence, until finally she hugged me tightly in the pouring rain, refusing to let go. My footsteps stopped under a large banyan tree in the back garden. 10 years ago, the banyan tree was lush and leafy, and it is still vibrant now. My hand caressed the two names on the trunk, which were so faint they were almost invisible. As if I could see that innocent girl again, her eyes filled with love and nervousness. She said, Fang Yuan, in this life I will only love you alone. She said, Fang Yuan, I won't let you leave me. We will be together forever. Then she solemnly carved our two names, stroke by stroke. But later, her heart was split in two, one half for her daughter and one half for the man outside. And this forever was only worth 10 years. The 19-year-old Liu Ruyan wouldn't know that at 29 she would lose me forever. I used a stone to dig a small pit bit by bit, put the file bag inside and carefully covered it with soil. Then I made the final call to Liu Ruyan. She picked up almost immediately, her voice as gentle as ever. Yuan, what's wrong? Is something the matter? I looked at the large banyan tree in front of me and spoke softly. Do you still remember that banyan tree at the nursing home? Liu Ruyan's smiling voice rang out. Of course I remember. It was under that banyan tree that I confessed to you. Time flies so fast. In the blink of an eye, it's been almost 10 years. I smiled too. That's good. I prepared a gift for you and Liu Xinyu and buried it under the banyan tree. Remember to come and get it. Liu Ruyan's voice carried surprise. Our daughter is already getting excited hearing the news. I'm looking forward to it too. We'll go get it after we finish with the company business. After taking it home tonight, the three of us can open it together. I didn't answer and hung up the phone. There will be no more family of three. I knew that tonight the mother and daughter definitely wouldn't come home, and I wouldn't be going back either. From now on, there will be no more sound of me in the Liu family. A long-lost mechanical voice sounded in my ear. Host detachment protocol is ready. Confirm departure. Confirm. As soon as I spoke, a blinding white light appeared in front of Fang Yuan, forming a passage. The surroundings stirred up a gust of wind, blowing down the leaves of the banyan tree into the air. I stepped in without hesitation. Liu Ruyan, Liu Xinyu from now on. After this, we will never see each other again. On the other side, early the next morning, Liu Ruyan woke up from a nightmare, sat up abruptly, gasping for breath, and subconsciously clutched the waist of the man beside her. Last night I had a terrible nightmare. I dreamed you were leaving me. I was desperately chasing you from behind, but not once did you look back. Fortunately, it was just a dream. Luckily, as soon as I opened my eyes, you were by my side, being hugged by Liu Ruyan. Tang Chang, who felt sweet in his heart, had his expression stiffen for a moment after hearing the name she called out. Then he wrapped his hands around her neck and spoke with a hint of grievance. Ruyan, the person who was by your side last night was me. Liu Ruyan's expression, which was originally soft, shifted as she sat up again and pressed her hands firmly against her temples. Why am I here? I remember saying last night that my daughter and I were going home. Tang Chang stepped forward and hugged her. Ruyan, did you forget last night after you finished eating, you came into my room and then? Liu Ruyan shook her head and her mind finally cleared. The memories of last night flooded back. Last night, Tang Chang had pulled her into the bathroom and in in a moment of impulse, Liu Ruyan felt a bit arrogant. Yesterday was their 5th wedding anniversary, how could she be so muddled? Yuan was at home alone, not knowing how long he had waited for her and their daughter. She had to hurry back. Liu Ruyan pulled his hand away and picked up the clothes beside her. After confirming there were no traces that shouldn't be there, she dressed neatly. Yu Tangcheng bit his lower lip hard, jealousy flashing in his eyes. He reached out to pull Liu Ruyan, looking at her pitifully with his usual weak expression. It's still so early, sir must not have woken up yet. Sleep a little longer before leaving. But the nightmare from last night became clearer in Liu Ruyan's mind. She could even clearly remember Fang Yuan's cold back end, the panic and heartache she felt while chasing him. For some reason, Liu Ruyan felt uneasy. She shook off Yu Tangcheng's hand, her gaze warning. Since when did I need your permission to go home and see my husband? Yu Tangcheng could only watch unwillingly as Liu Ruyan picked up Liu Xinyu from the next room and walked away. When Liu Ruyan put Liu Xinyu in the back seat, she woke up groggily. The first thing she said upon seeing Liu Ruyan was in a tearful voice, "Mom, I dreamed last night that Dad didn't want me anymore. He was holding another child who called him Dad. I wouldn't let her, but he said he wasn't my dad anymore and that I shouldn't call him that." These words made Liu Ruyan, who had just calmed down, feel her heart tighten again. Why did she and her daughter dream of Yuan leaving at the same time? Was this a bad omen? But in the next second she immediately dismissed it. No, it was impossible. She and her daughter just didn't go back yesterday. As long as she explained it well to Yuan, he would definitely understand. Liu Ruyan comforted her daughter. "Xinyu, it's just a dream. You are Dad's daughter. How could he not want you? When we get home and properly apologize to him, Dad will forgive us." At the same time, she stepped harder on the gas. The car shuttled through the road like an arrow from a bow. While passing a flower shop, Liu Ruyan slammed on the brakes. "Xinyu, wait for Mom in the car. Mom is going to buy Dad a bouquet of flowers." Entering the shop, Liu Ruyan specifically asked for my favorite lilies of the valley. The shop owner brought them out with a smile and tied them into a bouquet. It's rare to meet such a thoughtful woman giving flowers nowadays. Most people just let me pick. You must love your husband very much. Looking at the delicate flowers, the image of my smiling face every time I received flowers appeared in her mind. Liu Ruyan's racing heart finally settled down a bit. Similarly, she replied with a smile, "Yes, I love my husband very much. This bouquet is to apologize to him. Lily of the Valley is his favorite flower. I hope when he sees this bouquet, so he won't be angry with me after seeing the flowers." The shop owner handed her the wrapped bouquet and shook his head in disapproval. "Even if you picked a wildflower from the roadside for him, he would forgive you. I wish you success in getting your husband's forgiveness." These words made Liu Ruyan's face turn quite pale. After taking the bouquet and paying, she felt like she was fleeing. Back in the car, she checked herself and Liu Xinyu again. And after seeing no flaws in their clothes, she finally felt relieved enough to start the car and leave. What was originally a 40-minute drive, she forced into just 20 minutes. As soon as the car stopped, she held Liu Xinyu with one hand and the bouquet with the other, walking towards the house with large strides, opening the door. The villa was still quiet. She checked the time. It was still early, so Yuan should still be sleeping. If she brought the flowers to the bedside now, he would surely be pleasantly surprised when he woke up. She lowered her voice, "Xinyu, let's quietly go to the bedroom and put the flowers on the nightstand. Don't wake Papa up." Liu Xinyu nodded sensibly. The mother and daughter went upstairs quietly and pushed open the bedroom door. There was no one on the bed. The quilt was spread flat, without a single wrinkle. Liu Ruyan went forward and lifted the quilt. It was ice cold, not at all like someone had slept there last night. Liu Xinyu saw her father was not in the bedroom and tugged at her sleeve in a panic. "Mama, where did Papa go?" All the unease Liu Ruyan felt along the way was triggered. Having no time to answer Xinyu's question, she hurried downstairs to ask the servants, "Did you see the master go out today?" The servants looked at each other and shook their heads. "Madam, we haven't seen the master since we arrived." "Yes, at this hour the master should still be sleeping. We didn't go to the bedroom floor to disturb him." No one had seen Yuan. Then Yuan must still be home. He must be angry. "I'm back. I really couldn't get away from the company's business last night, so we didn't return. I'm sorry. I promise there won't be a next time, okay? Let's go to Hawaii for a vacation. That way no one will disturb us. Our family of 3 will make up for the anniversary. Yuan, don't scare me, okay?" She sent message after message, but the chat box remained green with no response. Liu Ruyan could no longer restrain herself and quickly called me, but there was only a cold mechanical voice. "Sorry, the number you dialed is currently unavailable." Little Liu Xinyu also felt her inner unease growing stronger. Seeing that even the phone call didn't go through, her voice carried a hint of a sob. Ma, where on earth did Papa go? Did we make him angry? Is my dream from last night true?" A thought that had never occurred to her uncontrollably surfaced in Liu Ruyan's mind. Her Yuan had left them. "No, that's impossible. It won't happen. Papa is just angry. We need to find him and apologize." Suppressing the panic in her heart, Liu Ruyan comforted her daughter while opening rooms one by one, trying to find my figure. But when she returned to the bedroom again, she suddenly realized many things were missing. The walk-in closet that was originally packed full now only had her clothes hanging there alone, and the vanity was as clean as if it were brand new. Liu Ruyan's heart tightened in spasms. Everything was showing that I had already left this place, left this home. Now she felt immense regret for not coming back last night. If it weren't for that, Yuan wouldn't have run away from home. Once she finds Yuan, she and her daughter must properly. She immediately had the servants pull up the villa's surveillance footage from yesterday to find out exactly when I left, only to find that after her daughter left, I threw the cake in the trash, went to the bedroom to get a file bag and left. Liu Ruyan's mind flashed back to yesterday's phone call and the file bag. Yesterday, Ayuan said he prepared a gift buried under the big banyan tree. He must have left an address inside, waiting for her and her daughter to pick him up and take him home. Hope surged in Liu Ruyan's heart as she hurriedly picked up her daughter and rushed to the garage. Xinyu, mommy is taking you to find daddy right now. Liu Xinyu's little face, which was about to cry, immediately became excited upon hearing this and nodded vigorously. When I see daddy, I will definitely hug him and tell him how much I miss him. Liu Ruyan rubbed her daughter's head. She too would tell Ayuan, just like her daughter, how much she feared his departure. The car sped all the way to the nursing home in the suburbs. Ever since I appeared 10 years ago and gradually restored her to a normal state, she had never returned to this place. Although the nursing home was abandoned, Liu Ruyan could still find familiar memories there, seeing the rusty swing. Back then she didn't know that the boy in front of her would lead her out of the haze and become the love of her life. Seeing the long-rotted wooden chair, she remembered how the lone figure on the chair had gradually become two after I appeared. Finally, holding Liu Xinyu, she arrived under the big banyan tree. This was the place where she and I pledged our love. Liu Xinyu had never been here and asked in confusion, "Mommy, didn't you say we were going to find daddy?" Liu Ruyan put her daughter down and reached out to touch the marks on the tree trunk with a smile in her eyes. "This is where daddy and mommy met. Daddy left an address for us here. Once we find it, we can go pick him up and bring him home." Liu Xinyu cheered somewhat impatiently. "Mommy, then let's find it quickly." Liu Ruyan recalled the words I said on the phone yesterday and began searching under the banyan tree, but the ground was thickly covered with a layer of fallen leaves, making it hard to discern clearly where I had buried the items. The mother and daughter searched patiently bit by bit until Liu Ruyan discovered a spot where the soil had clearly been disturbed. Unable to hide her excitement, she quickly called Liu Xinyu over and they both started digging. Soon, a file bag appeared before them. Liu Xinyu couldn't wait anymore. "Mommy, quickly see where daddy is." After a morning of panic, Liu Ruyan also just wanted to get news of me as soon as possible. She impatiently opened the file bag and took out the contents, a ring along with sheets of chat records and photos that appeared before her eyes. "Today Ruyan hugged me and called me husband. It seems soon you, the husband of President Liu, will have to step down. Last night Ruyan pestered me for another round in the car. You haven't tried that with her, have you? Your daughter picked a flower with her own hands today and gave it to me, even saying it was her first time giving flowers and that even you hadn't received one." Every page was filled with Ito Shige's boastful words, and there were even some unsightly photos of her and Ito Shige. A panic she had never felt before swept through Liu Ruyan's entire body. She felt as if the blood in her whole body had frozen. Ayuan actually already knew about her and Ito Shige, yet she hadn't noticed a thing. Exactly when did he find out? But now Liu Ruyan had no energy to investigate. She only wanted to find Fang Yuan immediately, whether he hit her or scolded her. She was even willing to kneel and admit her mistake, as long as she could find him and have him come home with her. She flipped through the pages one by one almost frantically, trying to find any other information from that evidence. But there was nothing. Fang Yuan hadn't even left a single word for her. He only left her a ring. This ring was personally designed and polished by the two of them for their wedding, and they once promised each other that no matter what, he could never take it off. Now this ring appeared in the file bag, representing something Liu Ruyan didn't dare to think further about. She was afraid of getting the answer she least wanted to receive. Liu Xinyu didn't understand any of this. She only knew that just now her mother was still happy about being about to know where her father went, but now her whole body was filled with despair, the joy on her face long gone. A child's intuition caused the anxiety in his heart to be triggered again. He hugged Liu Ruyan in panic. "Mom, did something happen to Dad?" The papers in her hand slipped to the ground. Liu Ruyan closed her eyes, never feeling that saying a few words could be so difficult. "Dad, he might not want us anymore." At this moment, a scene flashed in Liu Ruyan's mind of when I confessed to her under this banyan tree. "Fang Yuan, be with me, I will love you forever." The scene shifted to when she made a promise while proposing to me. "Ayuan, marry me. In this life I will only love you, one man, and never betray you." The 22-year-old me had only full trust in my eyes. "Okay, I'll marry you." Finally, the scene froze on my birthday. Only then did Liu Ruyan realize the deep-seated pain in my eyes when I spoke about my friend's marriage breaking up. That so-called friend was myself. It turns out I had known about Ito Shige's existence so early on. Over the past half-month, my various abnormalities also clearly surfaced in her mind one by one. Ayuan had already planned to leave, but she knew nothing. Only pain gradually spread from her heart to her entire body. The 22-year-old Liu Ruyan only had me, one man, in her heart and eyes. She believed she would never betray me in the future. The 29-year-old Liu Ruyan, however, personally broke this vow. When did it start to change? Liu Ruyan could no longer remember clearly. She only remembered that after having sex with Ito Shige for the first time, her first thought was actually that I was an orphan with no family. So in this world, she and our daughter were the people closest to me, and I had nowhere to go except for the Liu family. So with this thought, Liu Ruyan let herself sink and indulge step by step. She never expected that I would leave in such a decisive manner. Hearing Liu Ruyan's words, Liu Xinyu instantly burst into loud sobs. "I want Dad." However, at this time, Liu Ruyan had no energy to to comfort her daughter, her gaze fell once again on the chat screenshots on the floor. Panic and grief after Fang Yuan's departure now all turned into a surge of anger in her heart. Ito Shige, she had clearly warned him long ago not to bring their affairs before Yuan, yet he had feigned compliance while secretly destroying her relationship with Yuan. Liu Ruyan picked up all the papers, stuffed them into the file bag, and after getting home handed Liu Xinyu to the servant. Zhao Can then rushed to Ito Shige's house without stopping. Ito Shige was originally angry because Liu Ruyan had ignored his pleas to stay and left in the morning, throwing things around the house. When he heard the knocking, he was frustrated. Opened the door impatiently. "Who is it?" When he saw Liu Ruyan outside, his expression instantly turned to joy, but then he thought of the messy living room and his tone became a bit panicked as his mind raced for an excuse. "Ruyan, why are you back today?" Before he could finish, Liu Ruyan's hand tightly choked his neck. The veins on her face bulged, making her look like a demon crawling out of hell. "Ito Shige, you deserve to die." She hadn't expected that the man who acted weak and innocent before her and showed no intention of competing with me would actually have such a disgusting face behind her back. A cold, deadly desire to survive made Ito Shige hit Liu Ruyan's hand desperately, but she had no intention of letting go, tightening her grip continuously. The words spat out with bone-deep hatred. "I warned you from the start that our business was not to be brought before Yuan, but you dared to tell Yuan behind my back. You are just a little toy I keep outside. Since you don't know your place, don't blame me for being heartless." After speaking, she threw Ito Shige to the ground with a face like ice, her whole body radiating a cold aura. Ito Shige clutched his neck and coughed violently. Gasping for air, he had never seen Liu Ruyan exuding such a terrifying aura. They were intimate just last night, yet now she looked at him like an enemy. But knowing her power, he could never admit that he had sent the provocative text to me. He looked at Liu Ruyan with despair, his eyes filled with tears. "Ruyan, is this the kind of person I am to you? I only ever dared to hope in my heart that the mister would share a little of you with me, even just a tenth. I never had other thoughts, nor did I tell the mister anything." Ito Shige knew that as long as Liu Ruyan saw him cry, she would soften, but he was wrong this time. Her face remained frighteningly grim. Even at this point, Ito Shige actually dared to lie to her. She took the printed photos and chat records from the file bag and slammed them onto his face. "Don't dare, is this what you call not daring?" The sharp edges of the paper left red marks on his face, but he didn't have time to care. After seeing the contents on the papers, his heart was filled with fear. He never imagined she would see these. He hurriedly rushed forward to grab Liu Ruyan's pant leg. "Ruyan, I was wrong. I said things I shouldn't have, but it's all because I love you. I just wanted to be with you openly." Liu Ruyan looked down at him with endless indifference. "Openly, it seems you still haven't realized your position. Yuan is my only husband. Now that you've driven him away, you will pay the price." After speaking, she raised her foot to kick Ito Shige. "You already have my child in your belly." Liu Ruyan's movements froze, her icy gaze fixed on him. "Are you sure I am pregnant with your child?" Initially seeing Liu Ruyan's rage, he was terrified. He was afraid of being abandoned and targeted for revenge. But the moment he heard Fang Yuan had left, Ito Shige had only one thought: his chance had come. His family background was poor from a young age. His father was abusive and his mother ran away. He grew up alone under his father's fists and judgmental looks. Since entering university and seeing lives so different from his own, he vowed that he would also become successful and no longer suffer the contempt of others. 3 months ago, he successfully became the assistant to the CEO of Liu Group. When he first saw Liu Ruyan in his heart, he already made her his target. No matter how much the outside world rumored she loved her husband, he didn't care at all. Rich people are never faithful. The more she showed love and care for her husband publicly, the more she would be hooked once she tasted a wildflower. He indeed succeeded, upgrading from a common assistant to the man by her bedside. After seeing Liu Ruyan's generosity, his ambition gradually swelled. He was no longer satisfied with staying in the shadows. He knew she had a daughter, but she was just a child and even easier to win over. He simply watched cartoons with Liu Xingyu when she came to the company, pretending to be interested. While chatting with her, by catering to her likes and buying snacks she had never eaten, he could easily make her depend on and trust him. Finally, only I, who occupied the position of President Liu's husband, remained. He originally imagined that after I found out about him and Liu Ruyan, I would make a scene until Liu Ruyan was completely fed up with me and then he would step up as a delicate flower. But he didn't expect that I would leave so decisively, though this actually created an opportunity for him. Itonari nodded firmly and gently stroked Liu Ruyan's lower abdomen with a soft expression. "Ruyan, since we've been together, we have never done anything wrong. I originally thought about taking you to the hospital for a checkup later, but now that your husband is gone, Xingyu is still young and needs someone to look after her. She is so clingy to me, and I believe she will definitely accept you and me giving her a younger brother." Itonari became more and more excited as he spoke, completely immersed in the joy of becoming Liu Ruyan's husband, not noticing that her face was gradually darkening. "Enough!" Liu Ruyan shouted loudly. Interrupting him, with a face as dark as the bottom of a pot, she approached Itonari step by step. "My husband will only be Yuan, and my daughter will not have a brother." Seeing her like this, Itonari felt a belated pang of fear and couldn't help but swallow hard. But thinking of the child, he gained confidence again and spoke with red eyes. "Ruyan, I know you love him, but he's gone now. He won't come back. These words successfully ignited the fury in Liu Ruyan's heart. She slapped Ito Nari hard, her long nails leaving streaks of blood on his face. Shut up, Ah Yuan is just angry. We'll find him, apologize, and beg for his forgiveness. Once his anger fades, he will definitely come home with me. Ito Nari clutched his swollen cheek and cried out toward her. Is Fang Yuan that important to you? What about me? You're still carrying my child in your womb. How could you do this to me? But his desperate struggle did not earn even a bit of sympathy from Liu Ruyan. She squeezed his chin hard with her hand, her tone full of undisguised mockery. A child. Back when Ah Yuan came out of the ICU, I swore to him that I would never put him in danger again. That very afternoon, I went to have a surgery. In this life, I will only have one daughter, Xingyu. Ito Nari's eyes widened in disbelief. He never imagined that Liu Ruyan had actually undergone surgery. When she was with him, she never used any protection. He thought this was her accepting getting pregnant with his child. Even though a month had passed and there was no news from her belly, he thought about how for the past month they had almost every day been extremely intimate without any protection, so maybe she was already carrying his child. Thus, he chose to gamble, but he never expected that Liu Ruyan would have a surgery for my sake. Liu Ruyan released her grip on him and looked down at him, her eyes devoid of any warmth. From today on, you are fired. You'd better leave this city sensibly. Liu Ruyan announced the end of this relationship. Despair gradually filled Ito Nari's heart, but he still didn't want to give up on Liu Ruyan, his meal ticket. He quickly confessed, Ruyan, I just wanted to find an excuse to stay by your side. I know I was wrong. Please don't kick me out, okay? Now, whenever Liu Ruyan saw him, she would think of my departure. If he hadn't been so thoughtless and brought everything to light in front of me, I wouldn't have left her and our daughter. If you don't leave on your own, don't blame me for taking action. If not for you, Ah Yuan wouldn't have left home. I won't give you another chance to appear before him. Liu Ruyan's voice carried a hint of ruthlessness as she looked at him. With such a determined attitude, Ito Nari knew he couldn't change her mind no matter what, so he simply gave up and stood up, unsteadily pointing at her and sneering, blame me? Liu Ruyan, do you really think that after Fang Yuan knows about us, he will still come back? What? Most beloved CEO, back then I just pretended to be drunk by a business partner and stumbled into your arms, and didn't you take the bait? And last night I didn't beg you to stay. You were the one who couldn't control yourself and kept clinging to me. The person who really made Fang Yuan leave wasn't me, it was you. The good wife who only loved him. He wasn't finished and continued, no, there's one more person, your good daughter Liu Xinyu. You two drove him away with your own hands. Ito Nari's words stripped away the last layer of self-deception in Liu Ruyan's heart. Yes, it was she who couldn't resist temptation and betrayed their marriage, even taking their daughter along to travel with another man behind his back. She didn't choose to save him during the avalanche and on their anniversary. She left him home alone. She couldn't imagine how much despair I must have felt over the past half month. On the drive home, Liu Ruyan used all her connections to find my whereabouts. She called everyone who knew me one by one to ask if they knew where I was. She had to find her Ah Yuan and beg for his forgiveness, but the answers she received were all that they didn't know where I went, according to the itinerary found by her secretary. Fang Yuan hadn't left the city. The last place he appeared was the sanatorium, but since it had been abandoned for years, there were no cameras there. She could only see me walking in with a document bag and never coming out. When Liu Ruyan returned home dejectedly, Liu Xinyu had been sitting on the sofa waiting anxiously. Hearing the door open, she immediately ran up. Mom, did you find Dad? Facing her daughter's expectant gaze, Liu Ruyan shook her head with difficulty. The light in Liu Xinyu's eyes instantly went out. Recalling those photos and chat logs, she looked at Liu Ruyan with panic in her eyes. Mom, did Dad leave because we were with Brother Ito? Does he not want us anymore? Seeing her daughter's tearful eyes, Liu Ruyan felt an unspeakable pain in her heart. If she hadn't been foolish and done something wrong, Ah Yuan wouldn't have left, and her daughter wouldn't have become like this. She held Liu Xinyu tightly and said hoarsely, no, Dad wouldn't be so cruel. We did something wrong, but as long as we find Dad, apologize, and sincerely seek his forgiveness, Dad will come back with us. But call after call was made. A week passed, yet there was still no sign of me. Someone hesitantly mentioned on the phone, President Liu, it's been so long and we haven't found Sir. Could Sir have already? The next second, Liu Ruyan slammed the phone hard against the wall, her eyes bloodshot. Having never been away from me for so long, the child cried all day for her father. Liu Ruyan took her to the villa's secret room, which held all the memories between her and Fang Yuan from the time they met until now. Since I left, she had wanted to open the secret room countless times, but whenever she thought of those photos and looked at the home now missing its male master, her heart felt a sharp pain as if cut by a knife. She was afraid she wouldn't be able to control her emotions and would break down. But a week had passed and endless longing eroded her mind. She had to try to find a bit of comfort in their past happiness, but when she saw clearly the damaged photos in the secret room, impossible, where is Dad? Liu Xinyu picked up a photo. She remembered it was the family portrait the three of them took last spring festival, but now only she and her mother's figures remained in the photo. The part belonging to Dad had been cut out. She immediately burst into tears. Where is my dad? Why is my dad gone? Liu Ruyan immediately called all the villa's servants and asked them one by one who had touched the photos in the secret room. Miss, the secret room we don't go near, and besides, we don't know the password, so we can't get in at all. Oh right, I suddenly remembered when the master was still here, I seemed to see him take something from the secret room and then burn it in the garden. It was the master's decision decision, so we didn't dare interfere, and thus we don't know exactly what he was burning. The servant's words were like a heavy hammer hitting Liu Ruyan's heart, making her whole body tremble. Was it a yuan? Suddenly, Liu Ruyan remembered something and rushed straight to the safe in the study. Their marriage certificate was kept inside, standing before the safe. She actually felt a bit timid. She tremblingly entered the password and opened the safe. When she saw it was empty, Liu Ruyan had to face the answer she least wanted to see. She laughed bitterly, tears falling to the ground drop by drop. Only then did she realize how much I hated them, so much that I didn't even want to leave a single photo or our marriage certificate. He was determined to erase all traces of himself. In the Liu family, a yuan, why are you so cruel? A terrifying thought uncontrollably appeared in her mind. If he hates them this much, can they find him? Even if they find him, will he forgive them and come home? A sharp pain shot through Liu Ruyan's heart, and she suddenly vomited a large mouthful of blood before her eyes went dark and she lost consciousness. A month has passed since I left, yet Liu Ruyan still hasn't received a single bit of news. She had someone restore the digital versions of the photos in the secret room and printed them again to post in the room. Liu Xinyu no longer goes to school and stays in the secret room all day, even holding a photo of me in her hand when she sleeps at night. Liu Ruyan expanded the search range and even posted the news of searching for me online, hoping someone would inform her immediately if they saw me. However, netizens didn't know that my departure was due to Liu Ruyan's broken promise. They only thought I had met with some accident. Oh my god, did something happen to Mr. Fang? Could he have been kidnapped? I heard President Liu has been going crazy with worry lately. Sigh, what a rare loving couple in a wealthy family. I hope President Liu finds Mr. Fang soon. I still want to see them show off their affection. President Liu's love for Mr. Fang is truly as deep as ever. The Liu family's young miss has also been clamoring for her father every day. A child without her father is so pitiful. Liu Ruyan constantly monitored this information, fearing she would miss any useful information. However, not a single person mentioned seeing me. Aside from wishing she finds me soon, the comment section was filled with praise for the relationship between the couple. In the past, Liu Ruyan would have felt proud seeing such messages, but now she felt only endless guilt and even fear, because she knew clearly that if it weren't for her and Ito Shige, her yuan wouldn't have left. Just as this search for Fang Yuan reached its peak, a Weibo post exploded online. Since Liu Ruyan fired Ito Shige just as she said, he could no longer find any other work in the city, and no company dared to hire him. He knew this was Liu Ruyan's way of forcing him to leave the city, but on what grounds? He had seduced her back then, but if she hadn't been unable to control herself, how could he have succeeded? In the end, it was her own fault that drove me away, so why should he have to bear this price? And when he saw the buzzing news online about the search for me, his resentment reached its peak and turned into hatred. She was just a woman pretending to be deeply affectionate. How could she be worth such praise, since his life was miserable now? He wouldn't let her have it easy either. He uploaded everything between himself and Liu Ruyan online, including the intimate photos they took and how Liu Ruyan played with her on my wedding anniversary, even having Liu Xinyu call him dad. 1 minute after this explosive news was posted on Weibo, it blew up the internet. Liu Ruyan's infidelity and Fang Yuan leaving home trended everywhere. Netizens previously thought my disappearance was due to an accident and were helping out of concern, but until Yitang Cheng's Weibo exposure, they finally realized it wasn't an accident. Because I knew Liu Ruyan was unfaithful and Liu Xinyu took a homewrecker as her father, so I left in despair. Liu Ruyan's loving wife persona collapsed. From a national good wife everyone envied to a woman everyone spat on. I used to ship the fairy tale love between her and Fang Yuan, but she couldn't control her lower body either. She even had the nerve to search for him publicly. I think Fang Yuan was clearly heartbroken and decided to cut all ties with this mother and daughter, erasing all traces of his departure. I can't imagine how much pain and despair Fang Yuan felt when he realized both his wife and daughter betrayed him. How pitiful. Under public pressure, Liu Group's shares plummeted and the company fell into turmoil. However, instead of returning to Liu Group to take charge, Liu Ruyan was nowhere to be found. She sat in a bar, drinking glass after glass of strong liquor. Only this way could she see the Fang Yuan who once loved her dearly in her drunken dreams. A gigolo who often hung around the bar saw Liu Ruyan drinking alone in a corner, and his eyes lit up. Before, whenever Liu Ruyan came to the bar, she never allowed any other men present. She said her husband would be angry if he knew. Someone once didn't believe Liu Ruyan wouldn't touch men and called a row of different types of men for her to choose from. Liu Ruyan lost her temper on the spot and smashed that person's head open. A nearly finalized deal also fell through. Since then, no one in the circle dared to push men on her anymore. Everyone in the bar knew her boundary. No man dared to approach her. But now the scandal between Liu Ruyan and her male assistant was creating a huge stir. Everyone knew that Liu Ruyan, who supposedly loved her husband like her life, had another man in secret. Facing such a walking money bag, the gigolo was tempted. He thought that since Liu Ruyan could be with her assistant, maybe she would take a liking to him. He fixed his hair, walked over, sat next to Liu Ruyan, put his arm around her shoulder and said flirtatiously, "President Liu, why are you drinking alone? Do you want me to accompany you tonight?" The suggestion in his words was obvious. The gigolo never lacked pursuers. He confidently believed that even if he couldn't succeed tonight, he could at least get Liu Ruyan's contact information. But unexpectedly, the moment his hand touched touched. Liu Ruyan, she dodged in disgust. The gigolo didn't give up, leaning close to Liu Ruyan and whispering in her ear, "Don't be like that, President Liu. Your husband isn't here, it's so lonely being alone. Why not?" These words touched Liu Ruyan's sore spot. Her eyes instantly turned red and she choked him hard. "My husband will come back. I won't do anything to betray him." The man felt he couldn't breathe and slapped her hand frantically, but Liu Ruyan's grip tightened until others in the bar noticed and rushed to intervene. Only then did she let go, looking coldly at the gigolo gasping for air on the ground. Liu Ruyan returned to the villa's secret room smelling of alcohol. Looking at the wall full of proofs of their past happiness, she knelt on the ground with a thud. "Yuan. Except for you, I will stay far away from all men and won't let them near me. Please come back, okay? I really know I was wrong." The silent room. Soft sobbing filled the room. Liu Ruyan was like a lost child, holding our wedding photo as tears continuously streamed from her eyes. She kept mumbling that she was wrong, but unfortunately no one could hear her late repentance. Back in the original world, I woke up and reached for the phone in my bag. I found that the time had changed back to 6 years ago. I got up and went to the bathroom, seeing the much younger face in the mirror. I realized that I had spent 10 years in the task world, but only 4 years had passed in reality. This meant that I was not the 29-year-old Fang Yuan, but the 23-year-old one. Looking around this strange yet familiar room, I felt as if a lifetime had passed. The sound of a door opening pulled me from my memories. I opened the bedroom door and came face to face with the mother I hadn't seen in 10 years. She had just finished buying groceries and was heading to the kitchen. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw someone standing by her son's bedroom. Thinking it was a thief, she was about to call out. And she realized that face was so familiar. Her grip loosened, the bag fell, and the vegetables scattered all over the floor. However, Mom didn't care about that right now. Her legs felt weak as she took one difficult step after another toward me. When she reached me, she tremblingly raised her hands, her eyes already filled with tears. "Yuan, is it really you?" She wanted to touch my face, but feared it was an illusion that would vanish if touched. Since her son went missing, she had spent every day weeping over photos, hoping to see him in her dreams. But in 4 years, she had never dreamed of him. This was the first time she saw her son. Although his face had changed a bit, she recognized at a glance that this was her precious son, Yuan. Seeing my mother's graying hair, my tears flowed uncontrollably. Hearing my mother's cautious tone, I could no longer hold back. I hugged her while crying, "Mom, it's me, I'm back." Only when she felt my warm body did she truly realize that her son Yuan had really returned. "Yuan, where have you been? Do you know how hard your father and I have looked for you?" We both wept together. Mom kept telling me how she and Dad never gave up searching for me over the last 4 years, even though everyone and even the police told them I might be dead. But because of a mother's bond, she firmly believed her son was still in this world. With that faith, she and Dad held on for 4 years and never moved, fearing I wouldn't find them if I returned. Now, they had finally waited long enough for their Yuan to come back. After a long time, we calmed down. Mom stroked my face with unconcealed heartache in her eyes. Mom's tears wouldn't stop falling as I repeatedly said, "Mom, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." I felt immense regret and a pain beyond words. How could I have heartlessly abandoned such loving parents for a woman, letting them search for 4 years? If I could go back to the past, I would choose to leave without hesitation. When Dad heard the news and rushed home, he saw Mom and me on the sofa, both looking as if we had been crying. My usually stern father, seeing the son he hadn't seen in 4 years, also got teary-eyed. Yuan Fang. Yuan, I finally chose to tell the whole story of the 10 years I spent in the task world. Mom and Dad were the only 2 people I could trust. In this world, it took me only 3 hours to explain the past decade. After the last word, I took a sip of water to moisten. I moistened my throat to give my parents time to digest this, yet their initial surprise had already turned into heartache. They never imagined that while the son in their memories was still a lively and carefree college student, he had actually married and had children in another world and even experienced the double betrayal of his wife and child. Mom looked at her son, whose personality was now much steadier, and wept. Her Yuan had truly suffered. Seeing the identical heartache on my parents' faces, my heart was filled with endless guilt and regret. It was all because I had been immersed in so-called love back then that my parents lived in grief for 4 years. Mom wiped away her tears and tightly held my hand, asking what my future plans were. Before I disappeared from this world, I was in college. A month after I vanished, Mom had already applied for a leave of absence for me, but I had already completed 4 years of college in the task world and had no intention of returning to campus. Besides, although my current appearance is 23 years old, I have actually lived for 10 years and my mental age is 29. If I were to interact with a group of college students, I would only feel out of place. I decided to find a quiet town to recuperate for a while. However, Liu Ruyan's failed marriage had ultimately affected my psychological state, and I needed to adjust slowly on my own. Even though Mom and Dad were reluctant, they still nodded in agreement. "Remember to send us a message every day to let us know you're safe." They had finally seen their son return and couldn't bear to lose him again. I nodded, my eyes filling with tears again. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. While searching for a suitable small town online, by the time I decided where to go, it was already a week later. Before heading to the town, my parents helped me pack my luggage early on, stuffing the suitcase with many foods they had made themselves, fearing that I wouldn't get used to the food outside. On the day of departure, my parents stayed with me at the airport for a long time. Until the plane was about to take off, the two of them finally waved goodbye reluctantly. Linshui Town. I've been settled in this small town for almost a week now. I had rented a house online before coming, and after arriving in the town, I spent nearly a week redecorating it into how I wanted it to look. The slow pace here has relaxed my mind a lot. Outside my bedroom window, there is a giant magnolia tree, and it is currently translation missing. 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 Meeting someone I used to know other than my parents, I didn't know what to say for a moment. Shen Yaochu looked at me with nostalgia. Hey Yuan, where did you go back then? I disappeared suddenly. The people at school only knew my parents arranged my withdrawal and never saw me again. I couldn't explain what had happened to me to Shen Yaochu, so I could only give her an apologetic smile. Shen Yaochu was not the type to pry into everything. Everyone has their own secrets. She only knew she could reunite with me after 4 years, and that was enough. We talked about Annan. I learned Shen Yaochu is now a busy doctor who often can't look after Annan, even though she tried hiring a nanny. The first nanny she hired actually mistreated Annan behind her back. Since then, she didn't dare trust anyone else with him. She had to juggle work and Annan. Although Annan was young, he was sensible, waiting by the swings for Shen Yaochu after school. On weekends, he stayed home obediently. Hearing this, I felt even more distressed. When Liu Xinyu was 4, I was almost never away, but Annan was often home alone. Seeing the undisguised pity on my face, Shen Yaochu spoke tentatively. "Hey Yuan, I have a request. I can see Annan likes you very much. Can you help me take care of him for a while?" Shen Yaochu knew this request was sudden. For a man, taking care of a child isn't easy, but she didn't want Annan to stay home alone every day. Thinking of Annan calling me daddy with teary eyes, my heart softened completely and I readily agreed. A hint of surprise flashed in Shen Yaochu's eyes and she hurriedly added, "Thank you so much, Yuan. Don't worry, you can name any reward." I refused, making Shen Yaochu feel uneasy, but I said it was because I liked Annan. Moreover, I had nothing else to do and taking care of him gave me something to do daily. From that day on, Shen Yaochu was responsible for dropping Annan off in the morning while I picked him up. Shen Yaochu often had surgeries and finished late, so I took him to the park. I cooked for him and read him bedtime stories. On weekends when Shen Yaochu was off, we took him to the amusement park. Annan became increasingly dependent on me, seeing me as his father in his heart. One day, I picked him up, and he ran into my arms with his short legs looking up with sparkling eyes. "Daddy, our school is having a sports meet next week. Will you and Mommy come?" Facing Annan's expectant gaze, my heart melted. I rubbed his head. "Of course, Daddy and Mommy will participate with you." When Shen Yaochu heard about the sports meet, she also said she would make time. On the day of the sports meet, Annan held my hand and introduced me to his classmates one by one. "This is my daddy. He's handsome, right? And he's a great cook." Seeing this, Shen Yaochu didn't know whether to laugh or cry and playfully acted jealous. Annan has never introduced me to classmates so formally. Hearing this, Annan hugged my neck and rubbed his chubby cheek against mine. "Everyone already knows you're my mommy, but they hadn't seen my daddy. They always said he didn't want me. Now I'll show them. Daddy didn't abandon me." His childish words made the two adults feel a pang of sadness. I kissed Annan's cheek. "Daddy will always stay with you." Seeing the two of us, Shen Yaochu felt an unprecedented sense of satisfaction. During the sports meet, we coordinated perfectly and won one award after another. Annan cheered until his voice was hoarse, his face full of pride. After it ended, we took him. We went to the zoo. It was Annan's first time there, and seeing so many animals, his excited eyes didn't know where to look. Shen Yaochu put on her shoulders so he could see more clearly. On the way back in the evening, Annan was already leaning in Shen Yaochu's arms, fallen asleep from exhaustion. Shen Yaochu insisted on walking me to my door first. Just as we arrived, Annan woke up. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and waved at me. "Daddy, see you tomorrow." I smiled and pinched his little face. Just as I was about to speak, I heard two familiar voices. "Daddy, Yuan." After another month of searching, Liu Yan still had nothing. Everyone around her was telling her to give up. Even the long-retired elder Liu advised her to stop looking for me. Since I had decided to leave, I naturally wouldn't leave any traces for her to find. Now that the company is teetering, she should return, but Liu Ruyan refused to give up. She firmly believed she would find me. Elder Liu looked at his obsessed granddaughter with both anger and helplessness. If only he knew it would lead to such a painful situation today. Why did she do those things to hurt Fang Yuan back then? then. Elder Liu couldn't stand by and watch the company call lapse, so he had to step in and take over company affairs himself. Since then, Liu Ruyan spent all her energy on finding me, and Liu Xingyu also followed her mother to search all day. Whenever they received any news about me, they would rush there immediately, but after a month, there was only disappointment after disappointment. Liu Ruyan, who never believed in gods, even took Liu Xingyu to famous temples, bowing at every step, just wishing to see me again. Finally, on this day, a mechanical voice echoed in both their minds. That mechanical voice told them I am not a person of this world. Now he has returned to his own world, and you naturally cannot find him. From the mechanical voice, they learned that I was a task taker, but the mission ended 7 years ago. I chose to stay for Liu Ruyan. It was their betrayal that made me completely give up and decide to return to my original world. Learning everything, Liu Ruyan's heart felt deeper pain. Her Ayuan gave up everything to stay for her, yet she actually failed him. Liu Xinyu knew she was also one of the culprits who caused me to leave. Now she only wanted to go before me to apologize and beg for daddy's forgiveness, but they aren't even in the same world. How could they find me? The mechanical voice continued, saying it could give the mother and daughter a chance to go to my world, but only for 24 hours. If they could get me to agree to return with them within 24 hours, then their family of 3 would be reunited. Otherwise, if I was unwilling to return, they would pay with their health for the rest of their lives. They could choose whether to accept this opportunity. The mother and daughter accepted without hesitation. Even if it cost their health, they were still willing to gamble once. Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu never expected that seeing me again after 2 months would be such a scene. Before seeing me, Liu Ruyan always believed they had loved each other for 10 years, and Xinyu was a child I raised with all my love. Even if my anger hasn't subsided, as long as they sincerely apologized, I would surely forgive them. Their family of 3 could definitely return to their former happiness. She would wholeheartedly love him and never be tempted by other men again. But she didn't expect that in just 2 months, there would be another woman beside her Ayuan. I was holding a child in my arms who called me daddy, looking exactly like a family of 3. Her mind went blank at that moment, completely unable to think. As for Liu Xinyu, she was full of grievances. The father who loved her so much had left for 2 months, and she and her mother finally found him, but now another child was actually calling him daddy. Liu Xinyu rushed straight over like a little firecracker, wanting to throw herself into my arms. Daddy, I missed you so much. I had already snapped out of my initial shock and stepped aside to avoid her embrace. Why are you here? Just then, what I originally thought was the Vanish system spoke up again. Host, the mission world shows signs of collapsing. Through the system's explanation, I learned that after I left, Liu Ruyan had once again fallen into self-seclusion, even more severe than when her parents passed away. Except for going out to search when she got news of my whereabouts, she locked herself in a secret room and abandoned the company. It was the long-retired old Master Liu who stepped in to stabilize the tottering Liu Corporation. Meanwhile, Liu Xinyu couldn't handle the blow of my departure either, crying all day to find me and even going on a hunger strike. The mission world faced the danger of collapsing. Only then did the system have to step in and give the mother and daughter, Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu, a chance to see me again. But they only had 24 hours. The system told me that I only needed to make Liu Ruyan and her daughter give up completely within these 24 hours, letting them know that I no longer love them and that it's impossible for me to go back. After hearing the system's explanation, I felt a sense of irony. It was the mother and daughter's various actions that made me decide to leave, yet after I left, they tried desperately to find me again. Ayuan, my daughter, and I have been looking for you. Liu Ruyan couldn't help but step forward, staring at me without blinking, as if afraid I would disappear the next second. Liu Xinyu also looked at me with teary eyes. The little child's way of addressing me and the way the woman looked at me made Shen Yaochu realize their relationship with me wasn't simple. Anan had also woken up. By now, hearing the older sister in front of him also calling me daddy, he felt a bit uneasy. Daddy. Hearing this address again, Liu Xinyu could no longer hold back the anger in her heart and shouted at Anan, "This is my daddy. Daddy can only belong to me." I frowned and pinched Anan's little face. Anan, be good, go home and sleep with mommy first, okay? Daddy has something to do. After saying that, I gave Shen Yaochu a reassuring look. Take Anan home. Sleep first, I have some matters to attend to. Even though Shen Yaochu had many questions, she knew it wasn't the right time and nodded. I leaned down and placed a kiss on Anan's cheek, my tone gentle. Good night, Anan, see you tomorrow. However, when I turned to face Liu Ruyan and her daughter, my face was full of coldness, with no warmth in my eyes. Liu Xinyu hadn't seen me for 2 months. After finally finding me, she not only heard another child calling me daddy, but also found that the father who used to be so gentle to her was now only cold. She could no longer bear the grievance in her heart and burst into tears. Daddy, don't you want me anymore? I am your daughter. In the past, whenever Liu Xinyu cried, I would hold her and coax her patiently, but now I just stood there, watching quietly. Liu Xinyu never felt her father's warm hand wiping away her tears. When she opened her eyes, she found that I was still standing in the same spot, looking at her indifferently. Are you done crying? Now do you understand how I felt when I found out you called Ito Shijdru daddy? Ever since Liu Xinyu was born, I raised her myself until she was 6. The feelings I poured into this daughter were no less than those I poured into Liu Ruyan. When she was sick, I stayed by her bedside all night long. On her first day day of kindergarten, I couldn't help but secretly go to the school to check on her. When she had nightmares and couldn't sleep, I would lean against the headboard, gently patting her back and singing nursery rhymes to coax her to sleep. So when I first found out about Liu Ruyan's matter, I still comforted myself that at least I had my daughter and she would never betray me. Like grasping the last straw, I devoted so much emotion to Liu Xinyu, but in the end, she chose to betray me just like Liu Ruyan, after giving so much love, finding out the truth. At that moment was just as painful. Liu Xinyu now knows she was wrong and spoke while sobbing, "Daddy, I was wrong. I shouldn't have called someone else daddy. Only you are my daddy." She tried to grab my hand to find warmth like she used to, but I heartlessly dodged her touch. Late regret is useless now. Seeing how heartless I was toward the daughter I once loved so much, Liu Ruyan's face turned pale. Ayuana. My gaze finally fell on Liu Ruyan. After not seeing her for 2 months, she was no longer that perfectly refined woman. Not even a single strand of hair was perfect. Her entire face was haggard with dark circles under her eyes. "Liu Ruyan, why are you still looking for me? Don't you already have Ito Cheng?" The first time I noticed a change in Liu Ruyan's attitude toward Ito Cheng, I didn't take it to heart. I thought that since Liu Ruyan and I had been in love for 10 years maybe, I was just overthinking it and that she wouldn't betray our feelings. But after experiencing her repeated lies and abandonments, and seeing her and Ito Cheng being intimate with my own eyes, I finally realized she had a change of heart. That's why I resolutely left that world, but now she has come to my world regardless of everything. It truly fits the saying that one only treasures what is lost, while what is obtained eventually becomes like a grain of white rice on a shirt. Liu Ruyan hurriedly explained, "I've already driven Ito Cheng away. I've been going crazy looking for you lately. Let's go home together, okay? Ayuan, the only person I've ever loved is you." Looking at the expectant faces of the adult and the child, I curled my lips sarcastically and heartlessly crushed their hopes. "Home? That place stopped being my home a long time ago. Liu Ruyan, stop deceiving yourself. You don't love me anymore." Liu Ruyan couldn't understand. How could she not love me? Ever since I left, she hadn't had a single night of restful sleep. She was even willing to sacrifice her own health to find me. How could Ayuan think she didn't love him? She looked at me with endless pain. "Ayuan, how could I not love you?" I just chuckled. "Secretly playing around with Ito Cheng behind my back, is that what you call love on my birthday? You and he were skiing in Switzerland, is that love? Didn't you protect Ito Cheng without hesitation during the avalanche, is that love?" With every word I spoke, Liu Ruyan's face grew paler. Every word I uttered turned into a blade that pierced through her heart. At this moment, Liu Ruyan loathed herself immensely. If she had stayed true to her heart and pushed Ito Cheng away, none of this would have happened. Seeing the grief in her eyes, I felt no waves in my heart. "I know you came here to take me back. Liu Ruyan, Liu Xinyu now. Listen clearly, from the moment I left, we no longer have any relationship." Hearing my resolute words, Liu Ruyan staggered back a few steps uncontrollably, her face full of despair. "Ayuan, can you really not forgive us?" Little Liu Xinyu didn't understand the previous words, but she understood the last thing I said. Her daddy didn't want her anymore. She didn't want to give up and looked at me with pleading eyes. "Daddy, and Mommy really know we were wrong." I shook my head. "I won't forgive you and don't call me daddy anymore." I turned and closed the door, shutting out the sound of crying from outside. The next day was Anand's birthday. Shen Yaochu and I had planned 2 weeks ago to take him to the aquarium, and the three of us would go take a family photo. Early in the morning, Shen Yaochu was waiting for me at the door with Anand. After I packed my things and opened the door, I received a kiss from Anand. "Good morning, Daddy." That sweet voice made the unpleasant events of last night vanish instantly. I also planted a kiss on Anand's forehead. "Anand, good morning, happy birthday, my baby daughter." I naturally took Anand into my arms, and the three of us prepared to head to the aquarium. Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu had squatted in the hallway all night. The system had only given them 24 hours. Yesterday morning, when they arrived in this world, I wasn't home. They waited the entire day before finally seeing me, but all that was left for them were heartless words. Now time was almost up and they had to return to their original world. They wanted to see me one last time. "Ayuan, Daddy." As soon as I opened the door, I saw the figures squatting in the corner, but I didn't want to spare them a single glance. Even though I heard their cries, I didn't look back. Last night, I had already made it very clear we no longer have any relationship. Liu Ruyan's face turned pale once again, and she swayed as if she might collapse, thinking of the little time remaining. She still brought Liu Xinyu forward. "Ayuan, even if you can't forgive us, Xinyu is your child. We're about to leave. Can't you just give her one last hug?" Liu Xinyu cautiously pulled at the hem of my shirt. "Daddy, I really know I was wrong. Hug me one last time, okay?" Shen Yaochu stood aside, holding Anand without interrupting. At this moment, Anand suddenly spoke. "Daddy, is this older sister really your daughter?" On the side, Shen Yaochu couldn't help but stiffen her body upon hearing this question. I thought about it. She used to be Daddy's child. Now Daddy only has one child. As soon as the words were spoken, Liu Xinyu couldn't bear it and began to wail loudly. "Daddy, don't leave me. I'm your daughter." Seeing her cry so pitifully, Anand felt a bit of sympathy. "Mommy, did the older sister do something wrong? Can't you forgive her?" I pinched Anand's cheek playfully. "Anand, when you grow up, you'll understand that some mistakes cannot be forgiven." These words were undoubtedly a death sentence for Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu. They would never get my forgiveness. In the end, I ignored their reaction, took Anand from Shen Yaochu's arms, and the two of us left together. "Mommy, don't leave me." Liu Xinyu watched our retreating backs and reached out, crying out desperately. Liu Ruyan could only hold her daughter tightly, tears falling silently to the ground. She never imagined that the nightmare she and her daughter once had would truly manifest before them. I had left them and there was another child by my side calling me daddy. No matter how they cried out, I didn't look back. Regret surged over her like a tidal wave. If only she had pushed Ito Shiro away back then. If only she hadn't taken her daughter to find Ito Shiro behind Ayuan's back. Even if she had cut ties with Ito Shiro in time, things would not have reached this point today. But there are no ifs in this world and time won't restart. This outcome was the fruit of the seeds she had sown herself. After walking out of the residential complex gate, I looked at Shen Yaochu with some curiosity. Don't you want to know why I have such a big daughter? Shen Yaochu still smiled gently. Everyone has their own secrets. I'll wait for the day you want to tell me yourself. Besides, I can see that the mother and daughter are already in the past. Hearing this, Fang Yuan was first stunned, then smiled with relief. Everything related to that mother and daughter was thrown to the back of my mind. Shen Yaochu was right. Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu were already in the past. They would never appear in this world again, nor would they enter my life again. At this moment, Anand puffed out her chest. I have my own secret too. The two of us were instantly amused. Oh, what little secret does our Anand have? Mommy wants to know. Daddy wants to hear it too. You can't just tell Mommy. As my back when I completely disappeared from the sight of Liu Ruyan and Liu Xinyu, their figures gradually faded as they returned to their own world. As the mechanical eagle said, they failed to make me agree to go home, so they were deprived of their health. From then on, Liu Ruyan and Liu Xin were plagued by illness. Liu Xinyu lasted less than 5 years before she died. In the final moment before closing her eyes, she looked at the tearful Liu Ruyan and spoke weakly, Mom, I really miss Dad. I regret it. Liu Ruyan watched her daughter die, and the last string in her heart also snapped. Having lost her parents and then her husband and daughter, all due to her own actions, she cremated her daughter and leaped into the ocean. In the freezing seawater, Liu Ruyan seemed to see me, whom she hadn't seen for years, just as I was at 19 years old, smiling and reaching out my hand to her, saying, Ruyan,